Hey guys, it's Becca. Greetings once again from my laundry room. Can you believe it's only been a couple weeks since my last video? It feels kind of like a miracle, to be honest. So today I'm going to share some paintings that I've done, and also we're going to talk about death. Metaphorically, of course. After I finished Justin's gouache course, I was very tempted to take another course because I am addicted to taking courses, but I knew what I needed to do was actually paint. So I took inspiration from my somewhat recent trip to Oaxaca, Mexico, and I did a bunch of experimental paintings using gouache and colored pencil and crayons, literally anything, just to kind of break out of the mold and use some of the inspiration that I got there to explore different illustration styles and different painting styles. So this is the first painting that I did. It encapsulates essentially everything that we did on our trip. So it is very sentimental to me, and I feel like it really captures sort of the whole experience, the vibrance and the colors. I loved it so much there. I never wanted to come home. Every corner you turn around, it's just mind-blowing how beautiful it is. As you can see, I added some dark outlines on this, which I always do and always regret. I just feel like it looks a little harsh. So on my other paintings, I tried to kind of tone that down a little bit or experiment with not outlining things at all. I had some ideas for, I guess, almost like travel poster concepts. So this is another one I did, sort of piecing in a lot of different things, the wooden textiles, the ceramics, the woven textiles, and just trying to get the vibe of the city. This one feels kind of graphic designery to me. This one is more like a children's book style. I actually always prefer when my characters and designs are more simple. So what I like about this one is that it's simple. And I think working in some of these textures in the background feels a lot more liberating and free. And it lets me go a little bit wild and feel loose when I'm working. Because when I'm doing a lot of the like finicky gouache stuff, I feel very kind of tense. So I started working a little bit smaller at this point because I felt like I was getting too nervous and I'd get halfway through the painting and I was scared of messing it up. So these ones I worked really fast and kind of chaotic. And especially with this one, I feel like it's getting much closer to that energy that I'm looking for in my paintings. And this one I used crayon and then I used colored pencil and gouache and then crayon again. So the process was totally unpredictable, and I think what stresses me out about this is I could never make the same painting again, not even close, because I don't even know how I got there. But I love the outcome and how it just feels a little bit less controlled. Also, I just think this concept is cute, and I have another similar one coming up. So here's the other one, kind of similar with the little alebrije and, you know, some kids trying to capture them or take them somewhere, I don't know, like wild pets or something like that. I think these are both really fun and would be good for children's literature, that kind of thing. I do feel like the colors it's just a little too clean still. I don't know why it's so hard for me to paint outside the lines, even when I'm really trying to. This one I was experimenting with a lot of really wet paint, and I think some of the areas are very cool. You can get this super bold and blendy effect here, and then you can add that opaque gouache on top, which I think is really why I love gouache, kind of effects like this. I also like that this one feels more textural. Again, it's like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and I have no idea why. Here's another one where I was working a lot with wet paint in the background, and whenever I do that, I feel like I get a much better effect, but it's really hard to control. So I often end up with colors or like saturation that does not look how I had planned it. So I think this is a good experiment, but the colors are very hard for me to control at this point. It's funny, when I was making this one, I was really excited because I was like, wow, I'm making gradients with gouache and it's so smooth and everything. But then when I finished it, I just wasn't really super happy with it, and I think I just prefer a more flat look. Like if you look at these two next to each other, I just kind of like this treatment better than this, even though this maybe is more technically accurate. This feels more like the type of work that you'd see in visual development or for animation, and this feels maybe more appropriate for illustration. It's cute though. And this is the last one that I recorded. This is actually my favorite one. So the last one happened to be my favorite. And I think you can tell that I'm like loosening up a little bit. And I really like how these shapes are not so perfect. Working with transparency so you can get more vibrant colors. It's, it's definitely going in the right direction. Okay, does anyone else have this problem where you do a sketch or a thumbnail and you love it and it's full of life and it just feels just right, and then you go to paint it and it just dies somehow when you go to render or when you go to paint digitally in traditional media? You just end up with something that feels so dead compared to the original drawing. This happens to me all the time. I actually had a revelation recently that the reason that I don't like to finish my artwork is not because I'm lazy, but because I actually feel like the more time I put into rendering or perfecting or kind of like polishing up my work, the worse it turns out somehow. Am I the only one that feels like this? I feel like the more time I spend, it's just like a slow murder of my original concept. Please tell me I'm not the only one. Drawing to me always feels really loose and fun and non-committal, and painting just kind of feels precise and fussy, and I just don't feel good when I paint. And I know a lot of people love to paint, so I feel like I must be doing something wrong. Anyway, I'm really trying to kind of overcome this and loosen up in my approach to painting. Because when I draw really loose, and when I paint, I just turn into this weird, tense robot. If anybody has any ideas, I would love for you to share them in the comments. I'm kind of willing to try out anything at this point, because I would really like to get to a point where I can actually finish my work and do bigger projects, but I just get to the sticking point when I have to paint or when I have to color things, and I don't know how to overcome it.